Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic host of Bachelor Nation News. Happy Monday morning. Our second video of the day. We've got Victoria Fuller and her new man, and Nick Viall is calling this a soft launch. No, Nick isn't her new man, but he posted the video sort of confirming, if we didn't know already, who she is with. Of course, this is a spoiler. This is probably my last spoiler video because this is the most out in the open storyline in the world. It does reveal the ending of Bachelor in Paradise, so if you didn't want that, you can go now, which at this point, I think I'm speaking to nobody, but whenever I make these videos and assume that everyone's spoiled at this point, I get, oh my gosh, I can't believe you ruined it for me. It's like, do you live under a rock? Have you been on a cruise in Antarctica with no internet for the last 4 weeks? Like, this is the biggest story of the year. Not hiding it all. All right, so you guys ready to get into it? All right, so here it is, folks. Not hiding it at all. We've got Victoria Fuller and Greg Grippo together at last. Now, Nick Viall says soft launch, but technically, to be technical, the soft launch is when somebody posts a photo of their partner or an Instagram video without tagging them, introducing them to their community. This is Nick posting it, so it doesn't count. So this is Nick's lovely girlfriend, Natalie, here. So we're just going to play the video. Here it is. The audio I can't play. Then we have Serena Pitt, and then we go over to Joe of a grocery store fame, and then we have Victoria Fuller. Pause on her, and then she looks over, and who does she look over at? We have it here first, folks. Greg Grippo. So there he is, and Greg's looking like, hi, my name's Greg. You might be wondering how I got myself into this scenario. It all happened when I fell for someone. Okay, so, and again, we might be sort of like looking, maybe reading into this look here, but he's like, really? You're going to put me on your social media? I'm sure Nick wouldn't have posted this TikTok video if Greg wasn't okay with it. But at the same time, and I'm not talking about positions of power as work goes, but like in a socio hierarchy here, Nick's a much bigger name and face within the Bachelor community. So Greg might have been like, sure, man, if you want to post it. But I wonder if Greg really wanted him to post it, although the cat's out of the bag, and I think maybe that's what they know. So people are calling this PDA, but I guess my question is it a public display of affection if it's not really public? I mean, they did it in a living room here. It looks like they were having some form of, I wanted to say pizza, but what are those, onion rings? What do we got going on here? Maybe it's a little bit of dessert. Could it be a churro or maybe, I don't know. Either way, looking pretty good to me. So, of course, the comments on this are going to range all over the place. When you watch it on Nick's video, people are like, oh my gosh, amazing. Some people are into Greg. Some people are not. Miller Time says, is this legal to post right now? And then Nick said, I think sharing a beautiful evening is still legal. And of course, Nick's not under contract. He can post anything. My thought, though, is that there was at least some permission from producers here. There was at least some permission that they could post that because, as we know, Bachelor in Paradise finale has been leaked. It was leaked the other day by Reality Steve. And in the finale, Greg Grippo arrives and discusses his current relationship with Victoria Fuller. And here they are. Victoria not looking too happy, and I wouldn't be either at somebody taking a photo of me. I don't know if it's legal to take photos of other people in a plane. I think this kind of counts as a public space, so you can take a photo. I'm not really sure. Either way, her face is saying, boy, how did I get myself into this situation? Although she's got the guy that she's been eyeing down for a long time. And of course, there they are. She's sitting middle. He's got the aisle. He's got the window. Listen, in my relationship, I'll be honest. I'm 5 inches taller than my wife, but I still sit middle. I would prefer to sit aisle, but she's just like, no, I need the aisle. She's afraid of being next to some stranger, which is totally fine. So I have my elbows and knees tapped by Joe Schmo sitting next to me. But either way, maybe Victoria pees a lot, so maybe she wanted the middle. Maybe we could start a GoFundMe for them so that they could get maybe better seating, maybe priority, economy plus. I'm not really sure. It looks like maybe they're flying Southwest, in which case all seating is the same. But if they are, they're not flying. If they're flying Southwest, they probably would have loaded. Anyway, the point, it doesn't matter. For those listening on the podcast Bachelor Rush Hour, you're like, what is he even talking about? It's just a photo of Victoria being like, really? You're going to take my photo? And then, but hey, that's sadly part of it. I don't think people should be taking photos of them, but there it is. So anyway, what I'm going to talk about next is very interesting because it has to do with the fallout between Greg Grippo, Johnny, and Victoria. And I'm kind of struggling on how I want to share this. But it reminds me why I lay off Twitter. Twitter is just a cesspool it's just a dumpster fire of people projecting their opinions onto others. And I really don't do much on there, but I had responded to the Bachelor, to the tweets from Reality Steve. So Reality Steve tweeted, since Victoria, Greg, Johnny Triangle is out, here is the information, blah, blah, blah. And then he mentioned that Victoria threw a wine glass at Johnny. And he also mentioned that Victoria said Johnny called her a stupid C word. And she claimed he told her she didn't cook or clean, so what good was she as a woman? Johnny said he said a lot of mean things, but he never said that. So it's a he said, she said. We'll have to see how it all plays out on the reunion. But of course, I responded, wow, never had a wine glass thrown at me. Didn't have that on my reunion bingo card. And then someone responded, if some dude called me a stupid C word and attacked my worth as a woman over cooking and cleaning, I might throw the glass and anything else within arm's reach directly at his head, which could for sure happen. And I said, one is assault, one isn't. I was just kind of like being the legal snob there. One is assault. You can't throw things at somebody else. You can call other people names as long as it's not hate speech. Now you might correct me on the First Amendment, but I believe you have the right to say words, but you can't say like hate speech to somebody, which would be like based on their religion, whatever. I don't know. Maybe you could argue that it was hate speech. I don't know. Either way, she responds, maybe then don't call your woman a stupid C word and you won't get assaulted. And my response was, I totally get your point, but this wouldn't be a good defense in the court system. So I understand someone's point that you might be asking for it if you say certain words at somebody. Absolutely. That's why we have a polite society, because no one wants to get out shot or punched by some random person in the streets. That's why, if you cut someone off, you go, oh, sorry about that. I don't want to have you follow me home and shoot me, even though shooting would be illegal. So I got that lady's point. Some other lady jumped into the ring. And again, this is like an away game because this is on Reality Steve's Twitter thread. So it's like not exactly my audience. So not exactly well loved by everybody out there. So someone else goes, wow, I can't believe you're defending his stuff. And I said, is reading comprehension that bad? I'm not defending anything. I'm saying assault is worse than words. Stretch the hamstrings before you leap to conclusions. And then she said, you're so clever. You haven't once addressed what Johnny said. Oh, I didn't know this was a press release about my thoughts on everything. Of course, you shouldn't call your lady or anybody mean names. Nobody should call anybody mean names, right? But that's not illegal. She said, you're so stuck on being right about assault. Yeah. Isn't that what it's all about? It's like one thing is legal, one thing's not. Of course, physically hitting someone is bad. Okay, we agree on that. Emotional abuse is just as bad. I had no idea what a smug jerk you were. Me, smug jerk Dave. Emotional abuse is just as bad. I can agree that emotional abuse could be as bad as something physically happening. Emotional scars can last way longer than any physical bruising or something like that. I agree with that. Although I don't know if I jump to it being emotional abuse. I don't know. We're going to watch how it all played out, and then we're going to discuss it more. That's kind of been my whole stance on this, is like, let's watch the conversation happen. We're all jumping to conclusions, and people are getting all mad and bent out of shape online, and we haven't even seen it yet. You know what I mean? So this is usually when people start like bringing in personal attacks at me. I said, how am I smug? You are the one who connected dots that weren't there. Words are not as bad as violence. That's why they are protected, whereas assault isn't. Now, we don't need to name call to win a point. Attack the point, not the person. And then, of course, they did the opposite. He is really angry about his failures and is taking it out on others. Just ignore him. Meanwhile, this is like if a fly hits a semi truck. I wouldn't be discussing it with you guys other than the fact that I find this interesting and funny. And I know you'll comment being like, oh my gosh, are people this crazy online? Yes. And by the way, this person, Sarah, created their account in November of 2022. So yes, and I believe in a version of Twitter that should have verified, not pay $8 a month verified, but everyone uploads like their driver's license. Just prove that you're a real human. It doesn't have to be for public, but prove you're a real human, and then you can decide whether to click on the random Twitter, which is like this random person, or not. And I would just choose not to deal with these people. She said, yes, you are. I can't believe your dad never taught you how to talk to women. You argue with women and only report on certain things. I'm not even arguing, really. I didn't see this as arguing. I'm just saying assault is when you throw something at somebody, especially glass or something hard, right? You can throw a pillow at somebody. I don't know if that'd be assault. The intent to hurt somebody with words being not. Maybe I sound redundant, but clearly my point's not being heard here. I said, I've reported the full story. Have a good day. Smug jerk, yep, you hit the nail on the head. And then they did some other somebody made a few other like comments that I think they deleted. A lot of times you'll see that, well, people will say something really mean, try to get you to respond, and then they'll delete their initial comment, and it's completely out of context. But that's how it is, folks. Now, Twitter's a dumpster fire. I'm not even sure if I'm pro Elon Musk buying Twitter or not. I haven't like formulated my opinion. I'm waiting to see how it all plays out. But he tweeted this, which I completely disagree with. Well, I would agree with it, but I don't. And I'll explain to you here. To independent-minded voters, shared power curbs the worst excesses of both parties. Therefore, I recommend voting for a Republican Congress, given that the presidency is Democratic. Now, I do like checks and balances. I think it helps, even within political parties, to have pressure from progressives to help a conservative Democrat go a certain way. It's nice to have pressure from different, like democracy works when we don't all have the same shared, exact thinking. But I disagree with this because the problem that we have isn't that there's isn't that the president's Democratic and then we need checks and balances. The problem that we have in this election is that 291 Republicans running for Congress are election deniers, which means they don't believe that the election was fair. And again, I'm sure some of my commenters right now will disagree with me, and I can't really argue on all those little points here. But if after several years of there being what's called the big lie, the great lie, whatever you want to call it, people still believe that the election was stolen. The bigger problem here is that I don't know if these Republicans believe that the election was stolen, but they know that their constituents believe the election was stolen. It's a scary place out there. So what happens when those Republicans are elected into office and in 2 years, say there's a scenario in which the Republican president doesn't win again in a fair election, and then has a court system and a Congress that supports their lie again? Is democracy completely lost? We'll have to see how this all plays out, guys. The old thing, we laugh because we cannot cry, but Twitter's a dumpster fire, regardless of your opinions and how it should or it could be. I don't want to live in an echo chamber, but I don't give any of my energy towards those wackadoos. I'm just going to continue speaking my truth. I'd love to know what you guys think. Now, if you want to call in, I'm going to be playing voicemails on the podcast Bachelor Rush Hour, which goes live every single day before the afternoon rush. So you can check that out, Bachelor Rush Hour. Link in the comment section below. The voicemail line's 401-213-9828. Feel free to call in and let me know what you guys think about anything in Bachelor Nation or anything you want to get off your chest. If it's wild and crazy, I might not play it, but hey, sometimes I love to play a good wild and crazy. So we'll talk to you all in a little bit. Patreon starts at 10 a.m. today, patreon.com/Dave Neal.